looks cool, so I'll do that one. And I just started listening, and it was like the first words in that NIV version was, everything is meaningless. And I was like, yeah, it is. Everything sucks. And so it really just, I was like, this is in the Bible? Like, how is this in the Bible? All my perception of the Bible was just like happy, joy, Jesus. And I didn't really know much. And so then I kept continuing, and there was like that wisdom in there, and just those, it was honest and true and real, and it met me right where I was. Yeah. Unfortunately, I did not continue to read to say, but God. but he got to me eventually, so, well, thanks for letting me share.
Thank you for sharing. So crazy. So if you're not familiar with the book of Ecclesiastes, it's our fourth poetical book. It seems like Job, and now if you haven't ever read Ecclesiastes, it's also kind of rough, like Job. And but they made them poems to like soften it, so we would swallow it down. So it's our fourth poetical book. You know, Job was suffering, and a picture of suffering and a sovereign God in suffering. And then we moved into Psalms, and it was how to worship that sovereign God that is sovereign even in suffering. And then Courtney just gave us Proverbs, how to discern good and evil, live a godly life in an ungodly world. And now we arrive at Ecclesiastes, which is also most likely written by Solomon. It's not completely settled, but in the first few chapters, the way he's described as a son of David, a wise, a teacher, it's most likely Solomon, and I think that's pretty, it becomes more clear as you go through it. But if you remember, Solomon was about 20 when he took the throne. And he said at that time in his life, I'm but a child. If you look at 1 Kings 3, 9 through 11, he's saying to the Lord, I'm but a child. Give me wisdom. It's on my phone. It's not up here. But he basically is saying, I have to have wisdom to lead these people. I'm but a child. And God's saying, because you didn't ask for riches and all these tangible things, I'll give you wisdom, and I'll also give you riches and all these other things too. So now Solomon's in possession of everything this world has to offer. Period. He's in possession of all of it. And we're going to find out what his assessment is as one who actually has everything that's on your little 5-year goal, my dream board. Do people still make those dream board? He had it all. He had it all. And we're going to get to kind of walk with him in that and find out what it all meant. So it's interesting that, and like Sadie was saying, his conclusion he introduces pretty early in like the first chapter. And his conclusion, like she said, is what? It's all meaningless but God. Right. It's all meaningless. It's all striving after the wind. So that's the conclusion he's going to come to. But the Lord's going to give us a whole book to walk with him there. So it's funny because I have a daughter that is very similar to Courtney. She hasn't matured to where Courtney is. Courtney's first stop is practical. It's practical, it's black and white, it's reasonable, it's reasoning. And like as she matured, you know, she gave more space to giving herself permission to feel things and like be tender and like hold both. But her first stop in assessing the world is like, what's reasonable, what's practical, it's black and white, it makes sense, right? And so I have a little mini her that was actually born on Courtney's birthday. Because Courtney called on her birthday and said, put it up to your belly. And so I put it up to my belly and she's like, Oakley, it's a great day to be born. There's cake. And she sang and everything. It was like 3 hours later or something. I went into labor and had that child in like 45 minutes. Yeah, cake. And Oakley always says, it was the cake that got me. It was the cake. But so I gave birth to my sister's child. And so then the other two are wired very much like me. Their first stop is to feel it all. Just feel it. And so growth and maturity for them is convincing them to like reason. Like, let's also be reasonable and come along the journey a little bit. But all that to say, one of our animals killed like a baby, or didn't kill it, got a baby bunny, and we got the baby bunny away from it and spent the day. This is when they were like 4, 5, and 6. So we spent the day like putting peroxide in a little baby bunny cut and like taking care of it and feeding it goat milk and doing all these things. And we were taking turns holding it, and I could tell it's breathing and its heart rate was like slowing down. So I'm kind of like trying to prepare them, and I was the one holding it when it stopped. And so I just gently said, like they're laying beside me, like petting it, and I said, guys, she's not sleeping anymore. She's gone, you know. And Claire and Bennett are like, no. The bunny's like this big. No, we knew her for 6 hours. And they were like weeping and crying. And my little mini Courtney stood up, and like you could tell she's bottling it all. She does not, like her heart got attached, and she wasn't comfortable with that. And her little face is turning beet red. And she goes, listen, everything dies, guys. At some point, everything dies. And I was like, oh my gosh. It does, that's true. And you can be sad about it. And there's another part of us that we need to accommodate for. So Courtney will bring her along in the process so she can get to where you are. But that's sort of the book of Ecclesiastes. Everything dies, guys. That's basically what Solomon tells us at the end. It's all futile. Rich men end up in the same place as poor men. We all die. But it has immense value in the meantime because it's Solomon. Remember, God gave them like 3 very clear instructions. And I am going to fill in your workbook a little bit, so you are welcome to open your workbook. I may fill it in. I'm going to try. God gave them 3 very clear instructions. It was don't store up horses, like riches, gold. So horses, gold, and wives. It was a really clear instruction. Solomon was like, I'll do all 3. And the kicker for him was the wives one, because they were not Jewish. They didn't serve the Hebrew God. And so Solomon gave very intimate place to idol worship. His faith, that placed in him, that anchored him, like Courtney was saying, to a settled place in his God, was very diluted. It was not settled. He gave place to a lot of things. So the book of Ecclesiastes is written by Solomon, a man who has everything this world has to offer. And unfortunately, he is very distant. He's diluted his faith. So it's written from that vantage point. And you're going to hear this phrase a lot. So I saw, so I perceived, so I said. And it's important to keep in mind that this is not so God said. This is not what God said. This is a human vantage point from a man who has distanced himself from his God. It's not the best book to go to and go, let me settle some theological stuff for myself. That's not what it was given to us for. It's given to us so, my husband got married. He was like 40 when we got married. And he said, I had the privilege and it was a gift to me because his friends were, around 40 people head for divorce. It seems like they go through like a midlife thing. And he got to watch a bunch of his buddies hit that honeymoon phase is over and wrestle through and try to save their marriage. And he was like, oh my gosh, he got to just sit to the side and watch them make the mistakes and clean them up. So he came into marriage with like, okay, we are going to do this and we're not going to do this. And he got to watch it from the sideline. Ecclesiastes, welcome. You are allowed to watch it from the sideline so you don't have to repeat it. But he's going to use the name God throughout the book. And it's actually, if English were as rich as Hebrew, we could see the nuances. But for us, God is God in English. In Hebrew, it's Elohim and Yahweh. And he uses Elohim, creator. So when he's referring to God, it's like that dude that started all this over there. It is not Yahweh, the one, the intimate one, the covenant maker, the covenant keeper. That's not the version he's using. Do you see what I'm saying? So you're reading, you're entering a book that is not God said, It is human perspective from a broken man who's trying to make sense of life from a very distant perspective of God. That's important to just keep in mind. Let's keep moving. So you're going to start, these are phrases you're going to hear over and over. 37 times he's going to say vanity, vanity. It's all vanity. I don't think the English definition of what it conjures up for us is exactly, I was replacing it as I was reading Ecclesiastes with the word vaporous. Vaporous, vaporous. It's all vaporous. I think that's a better word. It's more close to what the Hebrew word is that they're using there. Vaporous, vaporous. It's all just a mist that just disappears, all of it. You're going to hear the phrase, let's see the other phrases you're going to hear multiple times. Under the sun, 30 times. Because it's a book written to anyone who happens to be on this side of the sun. So everyone. A book of wisdom for everyone on this side of the sun, everyone under the earth. And then you're going to hear the phrases, I said to myself, I have seen, reminding you, this is not God saying some of these things. And you're going to hear the phrase, striving after the wind. It's all vaporous, like trying to catch the wind. And so, Solomon's looking for meaning of life, and these are the places he's going to look. Number one, wisdom. He was a man who excelled in science and botany, and he understood water cycles and earth cycles and all these things. And then he thought, intellect. Like if I just know enough, if I can make sense of it all intellectually, I'll find the meaning of life. And so you see him doing that in Ecclesiastes 1, and his conclusion is, he uses the word wearisome. His conclusion is it's wearisome. He says, I said to myself, behold, I have magnified and increased in wisdom more than all those who were over Jerusalem before me, and my mind has observed a wealth of wisdom and knowledge, and I set my mind to know madness and to know folly. So this is philosophy, the world, the rhythms, the what. He's setting his mind to know everything. And I realize that it's all striving after the wind. So his conclusion, wisdom doesn't give life meaning. So the next place he tries, Ecclesiastes 2, he's going to try pleasure and enjoyment. And it's sort of embodied by the use of the word wine. He's going to describe it with wine. So he's saying maybe it's in pleasure and wine. Ecclesiastes 2, 1 through 3. I said to myself, come now, I will test you with pleasure. So enjoy yourself. Behold, it too was futility. And I said of laughter, madness, pleasure, what does it accomplish? Accomplishes nothing. And his conclusion was, it's basically entertainment is enjoyable, but it gives no meaning. It's not in that. And so the next place he's going to look is in work. Accomplishments, business success, which he had all of it. And you see in Ecclesiastes 2, 4 through 6. I enlarged my works. I built houses for myself. I planted vineyards for myself. I made gardens and parks for myself. And I planted them, all kinds of fruit trees, and I made ponds of water for myself. And his conclusion there is also that it's vanity. But it's highlighting that he doesn't know the full extent yet of this upside down kingdom that he's joined, where in order to get, you have to give. If you really want to live to fullness, you have to die to yourself. He's standing in and sort of highlighting, whoa, there's a tension here of conflict. That's right, there is. We're about to all have to learn how to give our life away in order to have it, and give away in order to have. And he's presenting that conflict. And then he tests wealth. He accumulated possessions and gold. He's going to do women. And he's going to talk about just people. I bought for myself male and female slaves, and I had homeborn slaves, and I possessed flocks and herds larger than those who preceded me in Jerusalem. I also collected for myself silver and gold, treasure of kings and provinces. I provided for myself male and female singers. Dude's got like quartets or choirs or something. And the pleasure of men, many concubines. He tried it all. And his conclusion is, he hated life because it's all futile. Nothing satisfied, nothing told him, this is what it's all about. I was born for this. His soul would not come alive under the influence of any of these things. And so he despises life, and he decides death is inevitable and time's going to keep marching on. And you're just going to hear him stand in the tension of time is out of my control, and it keeps moving forward, and the rich and the poor are all going to end up dead. And it's this is like an existential dilemma the dude's standing in. He seems like a depressed philosophical poet who's like, what's it all mean? And he even says, I was telling Courtney, it's so ironic because he even says, no one's going to remember me anyway. All my words, just like Job. Do you remember Job? Like, as Courtney was saying, he said, if my words were but written down and recorded. Angels documenting everything. They don't know this yet. We know it because we have the book of Revelation. That there's a book recording our life that we give account for, that we get rewarded for in the end. It's all recorded. And Solomon's going, I'm just going to be forgotten. And you want to be like, excuse me, sorry, actually we're going to study you. And it's not, but that's his conclusion. And there is a little bit of relief. So here and there you see him touch back onto the greater truth. Ecclesiastes 2:24-25. You hear like a sobriety be ministered to him for just a minute. And he says this sentence, this also I have seen, that it is from the hand of God, for who can eat and have enjoyment without him? So he's starting to inch towards that. But all through, so in chapter 3, you're going to see him explain the emptiness of time, and fill in the blank as reality. The emptiness of reality, that time kind of moves in these rhythms and just circles back on itself, and everything's beautiful and appropriate in its time. But the problem is, he's going to come to, we're still going to die. And the fascinating second problem that he comes to, I'm not filling in your blanks, just flip to the back of the book. They'll be filled in back there. The conclusion he comes to is time's going to march on, and the problem with time is that we're all going to die. And then this is an interesting second conclusion he comes to. And it is, where is it? It's one of our favorite verses. Oh, it's in there. Just go on a gold hunt. You'll find it. It's one of my favorite verses out of Ecclesiastes. Eternity.
3:11. Yeah.
That eternity? Is,
3:11.
yeah, okay. So 3:11. Eternity is set in the heart of man. So God made these human beings that are subject to time, their bodies, all their possessions, everything subject to time, but timelessness, eternity is in their hearts. They have like an ache for it, an awareness of it, that something outside of time is set in their heart. We always say that of my kids, or one of my daughters, is like, she just has, everybody should live forever. I don't know how she's going to do the first time we have to bury somebody, because it's like eternity is really evidently set in her heart. But eternity is in the heart of human beings, and yet they're subject to time. It's just this beautiful, beautiful problem that, like, wait, God put us in a tricky situation. Whatever shall we do? And his conclusion is, live for him. Obey his commandments. Your memory verse this week is the conclusion when all has been heard is fear God and keep his commandments, because this applies to every person under the sun. And I always tell people who are sometimes church shopping or, bad mouthing just the church in general and religion, and my thought is, pick your broken. You can either run with people who are broken without Jesus, or saddle up with broken people that are chasing Jesus. They're your two options. Pick. You have one choice, and that is brokenness on this side of eternity. As for me, I'll be with these broken people chasing Jesus, because eternity is set in my heart. And I've realized there's an invisible rock that anchors my soul. And you know, Courtney was sort of, she kept using the word settled. As she was describing the book of Proverbs, I told her, I said, this is the word picture you provoked in me, was a man building a house, like Josh, put the picture back up, just put it like a man building a house. They first go in and engineers specify where these pillars go, these undergirding big concrete things. So you're not just, the stability of the house isn't on the sticks that build it, it's on the undergirded foundations that are set beneath it. And that's what she was talking about. I kept seeing this picture while she's talking about Proverbs and having your salvation is settled. When the whole world goes awry around you, you don't go, you back up to, oh gosh, you know, what started this, what caused it, what solutions are at hand. You don't back up to, maybe God's not real and I'm not saved. You don't back up that far because you have a pillar of salvation. It's a settled thing. It's a stable thing. And so you problem solve on top of that. You're an unstable man if you back up all the way to, maybe he's not real and I'm not saved and all of this is hooey. You back up that far, you're an unstable man. And she's talking about, you know, the goodness of God. The fact that he physically is incapable of being anything other than good. He has no capability outside of goodness. And that you settle that. So when everything goes bad, you don't run and go, maybe he's bad after all. You go, no, he's good. And I'll prophesy with my feet fixed on this. I'll prophesy to the bad situation that he redeems, that he restores, that he brings things, broken, bad things, into alignment with his goodness. That's who he is. And I'm here to administrate that. That's my job here, is to say, whoa, this doesn't match this. And I'm here to bring this underneath this. He's good. And that's what we're here to do. And you don't back up all the way to, oh, maybe he's not good after all. That's an unstable man. Proverbs is a place where you're building pillars underneath yourself that you can build on. Foundational things. Why did I go into Proverbs?
Good.
Yeah. Because they're very joined. You know, and I think, but oddly enough, you see the sticks that build the house. You see all that. You see all the materials that go on the outside. It's the invisible foundation you don't see that upholds, that undergirds that thing. And I'll tell you, before my husband came to know the Lord, so he was in college, he would have told you he was a Christian actually, because he was rich and white, and that's what you are, I guess, in America. So he was under the delusion, which I think a lot of Americans are, like, oh yeah, I'm Christian, because we're a Christian nation. And I've gone on Sundays. And so I most associate with that, I guess. And that was him. And he was just fine. Anyway, a buddy, and he and a buddy were going to travel down the East Coast during a break or something. So they made their way up north. And his buddy said, we can stay with some friends of mine. I don't know how they were connected to this church, but he said, hey, there's a conference thing going on. So I guess the buddy was a Christian, but he never told my husband about Jesus. So they decided, we'll drive up there, we'll go to this little Christian conference thing for the night, because these people are letting us stay there or something, and then we'll get on our way the next day. And so my husband is at this conference, and he remembers nothing about what it was about, who it was for, what scripture they taught, sermons, nothing. I'll tell you what he remembers. The couple that organized the whole thing for the church had buried their 2-year-old daughter 2 weeks before because he had backed over her at a dump. He went to dump things out of a pickup truck or something, didn't know she got out of the car, and he backed over her and killed her at a dump. And they had tried to get them to cancel the conference, and they wouldn't do it. And my husband watched those people worship with all their heart, remembers nothing else but an invisible place foundation inside of a person was made visible to a man who was going, what does it all mean? How are you anchored in it all? It all goes to dust and everybody dies and time marches on. And he saw a stability, an anchoring, like a steady, stable, safe place that humans were actually affected by. And he would tell you it's part of his testimony. And actually, just like a month ago, I said, how do we find these people? He has no clue what church it was, what their name was. He can barely remember what city it is. But I'm like, I want to find these people and tell them, you were part of my husband got saved that night. He didn't get saved, like he didn't give his life, but it rocked him. So as soon as the gospel was presented to him, he said things like that lit up. It was like his whole life was in black and white. And then he got saved one night and he said things, that moment being one of them, lit up in full color in his memory. And he was like, it was you. You're that place. You have a name. It was you. You anchor men's souls. They're not left to be a victim to this broken world that goes back and forth. It's good, that it's bad. It hurts me, and then it takes me to the heights of joy, and men are just victim, and then they die. There's a person. His name's Jesus. And I saw them. That was you. And all the pieces lit up in full color in his soul. And it was the first time he saw someone's undergirded foundation that they had set. And they said, it all went awry, but he's good. And I'll stand right here and I'll tell my circumstances, my broken heart, and everybody around me. There is a place, you can't see it right now, but it's coming again. We'll see it, we'll put our foot down, and until then, you'll see it in me. I'll be that temple, I'll be that solid place, and I'll show you. There's an invisible place that anchors men, and it's wisdom, and it's in God. My dad had a vision in, I guess it was in the 70s or 80s, right? Where he was just in the Lord, worshiping, soaking in the Lord, and he saw this scene unfold, like a bunch of people, humans, all over these rolling hills. And he said it was really quiet, and he's just kind of watching this unfold, and everybody's kind of waking up like they've been camping, but they have very minimal possessions, and they're like rolling up these mats and putting them on their backs, and he's just watching this unfold. And then he said he saw Jesus stand up in the middle and kind of stretch and shake his hair, and there was dew in his hair. He said it was so quiet to be as many people. He's looking at masses of people, and there's just this silence and this peace. And then he heard this sentence: if there were a city of safety, I would take you there. But there's not. So follow me. And man, that sentence has fed them, has fed me my whole entire life. And I feel like it's so apropos for the book of Ecclesiastes. If there were possessions that could satisfy a man's soul and anchor him and give him peace, he would give them to you. But there's not. If there were relationships and humans that could actually satisfy and give you lasting comfort, he would give them to you. If there was a business, money, if there was anything, he's a God that wants to give you good things. But we're living in a broken place, and they're not here. It's not here. And he's going to give you the best there is here. He's going to give it to you, but it's not here. It's not in them. It's not in whatever's on your dream board. It's not there. If it were, he would give you, he's the best dad there ever was. He would give you those good things. And he'll give you the best there is, but it's temporary. And you won't be satisfied. It is not a city of safety for your soul. That is not here. That's in following him. It's at his side, period. It's all we've got until he takes us home, until he builds a tangible home. We're not operating from invisible faith anymore. He's here face to face with a kingdom that we rule and reign with. Until then, this is what we have. And he's not holding out on you. It's not here. It's not here. And that's the conclusion Solomon comes to. He doesn't come to the conclusion that if there were something good here, he'd give it to me, because he had it all. And he decided, it's not here. Follow him. It's the only shot you got at satisfaction and an anchored soul. That's it. That's all you got. If that's disappointing to you, you got some unhooking to do. You've hooked your hope, your expectation, peace, false comfort. You've hooked it to things that will fall. Everything that can be shaken will be shaken, and it will fall. But there's an anchor. It's the rock of the Lord, where people can stand up and lift their hands after they bury their child and say, he's good. And I'll be with her again. And I'll be with you. And until then, I'm still yours. And we're going to put one foot in front of the other. Isn't that right, Wendy? That's right. Father God, you bought us fair and square. You paid with your own flesh and blood. And you looked the thing in the face that should punctuate sinners. You looked death right in the face. And you reached out your hand and said, give me the keys. You may not hold them back. They belong with me. The dwelling place of God Almighty is with humanity. Now give me the keys of the thing of their greatest enemy, death. I'll take those. And everyone who believes in me will have eternity set in his heart. And it will not disappoint. I'll come through for them. I've prepared an eternity with houses, with comfort, with safety, where every tear is dried, and they'll be with me. But our first assignment is to live for you, so we can die and go home and be with you and be done with this pain. And you made a way, and you gave us an instruction manual, and you deserve it. So we ask that the Lamb that was slain would receive the reward for his suffering on our life, on everything under our jurisdiction. May they look at us, those that don't know you, and see our invisible undergirding. That you're good. There's a God that's good, that he saves, that he's secured eternity for me, and he's faithful. May they look at our lives and see what undergirds us and build their house on that too. And we throw an inheritance at your feet when we see you. We have something to offer you. I didn't just come with me. I brought them with me. I showed them how to undergird, how to build stable in a broken world. Here, you're worthy. Here are my gifts. Be blessed, Lord. Minister this book to us, that Jesus himself would be glorified. It's in his name we pray. Amen.